Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studio, it's time for the GNFCC 400 Insider. Connect, build, and grow with the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to the GNFCC 400 Insider, the monthly radio show and podcast presented by the Greater North Fulton Chamber. I'm Kali Boatright, President and CEO of the Chamber. Today we will be discussing all things Alpharetta, and I'm excited to introduce our two guests. First, we have Janet Rodgers, President and CEO of the Alpharetta Convention and Visitors Bureau. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Kali.
And Matthew Thomas, our Economic Development Manager for the City of Alpharetta. Great to have you.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
There's so much to discover in this beautiful and vibrant southern city. Alpharetta really, truly has it all. A unique blend of excellent schools, incredible job opportunities, great shopping and cultural events, and abundant green space. It's no wonder that Alpharetta is one of the hottest markets in both commercial and residential real estate. Through all of its progress, the city has kept its down-to-earth character. We have several questions for our panelists today and super excited to get to know a little bit more about both of them. So to start off, Matthew, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and maybe how you got into this great economic development career path?
Sure, absolutely. So I actually got exposed to economics and economic development while I was in college, went to the University of West Georgia, and it was during the Great Recession. So, we were actually able to study a lot of the factors that go into economic health and economic vitality nationwide. And part of what I realized I wanted to do was use my education in a way that would help bring jobs back. At that time, nationally and internationally, jobs were just being shed left and right, and communities really began to think about ways to, help spur job growth and job creation. And that led to my exposure to economic development. I actually took an internship at the Chattanooga Chamber, great folks over there, back in the summer of 2010. And since then, I've really just been on this track of using what I know and what I've been blessed to learn to help create job growth and economic sustainability and resiliency in communities. I was with the city of Canton for the past 5 years before I came on board with the city of Alpharetta back in June of 2018. And this place is awesome. This is a wonderful community. I do have to give a shout out to my hometown, Dalton, Georgia. That's where I was born and raised, and a great place to grow up.
You know, how ironic. Our other guest actually went to high school, I believe, at the same high school. Yep. We just found this out. Janet, you're from Dalton originally, or at least went to Dalton High School?
We both graduated from Dalton High School.
See, small world.
And well, we kind of laugh because we say now we're taking over Alpharetta, and we're trying to make this an awesome city.
Well, you're doing a fine job, and that is a perfect segue. Matthew, you were talking about economic development and the reasons that people come to certain places, and one of the reasons is community building, right?
Absolutely.
Great place, great city. Had the occasion actually to see a concert last night at Ameris Bank Amphitheater. And so I know that we have so much going on here. And Janet, you get to promote all of the great things that make the Alpharetta area a great destination for tourism. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the world of CVB.
Well, mine's a long history, a little bit further back than Matthew's. But I started really after I married my husband, and we moved to Jekyll Island, Georgia. And that is a tourist island. It's all tourism. And so after being there for a short while, one of the hotels, the general manager there said, I got to have you at my hotel. I think because I love to talk, I love to sell, and I like to persuade people, and I really fell in love with Jekyll Island. So I said, well, the only thing I would do in a hotel, because I didn't know anything about it, was sales. So he said, you've got it. So that was my start in the hospitality industry, and the tourism industry was down on Jekyll Island, Georgia. And then after we had our son, we moved up to Atlanta to get more kind of back into municipality and a place where you'd raise children. Jekyll Island, I think, had one child that was 10 years old that lived on the island, and we lived on it, so it's probably not the best place to raise children. So we moved up here, and I represented Jekyll Island and then worked for some companies that represented resort hotels around. I went back on property at a hotel instead of being regional, back in Buckhead and then in Perimeter, and then went to the CAB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, for about 4 or 5 years. then living in Roswell this whole time and driving and commuting back and forth to a lot of different places, I said, wow, I need to do something in my own backyard. So I started talking with Alpharetta, and with that, I started the special events office there in 2000, and then had the position available as the president and CEO of the Convention and Visitors Bureau for Alpharetta, and been with the DeKalb for so many years. I loved it. Took that position. So between the city and the CVB, I've been there about 20 years.
Wow, that's
great.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on what you've built there. It's a great history, and I know that Alpharetta is proud to have you, and certainly as the chamber president, I am proud to work with you. So let's talk a little bit about local experience. As you know, the Greater North Fulton Chamber works with 6 different municipalities, all great cities, all with great different cultures. And Alpharetta is really one of the crown jewels in North Fulton, right? So let's talk a little bit about how our residents really get immersed in that local culture. And Janet, I know staycation is very popular up here as it is around the globe. But tell us about maybe some of your signature events or restaurants. Why do people want to stay here for a staycation or even come from out of town and be part of the city?
Well, I think over the years we've really developed a city that has become a tourism destination. When you look at what the entities include in tourism, that's shopping, dining, events, attractions, our hotels, entertainment, arts, and culture. So everything except maybe like a bank or CPA, those kind of professional services, falls under tourism. So when you actually start developing those and having more come here and a variety and an abundance of all of those different elements, people in their own community start taking part. They want to go to the concerts. They want to attend the events. They want to be a part of it. And some of them just kind of want to go away and stay in a hotel, maybe have a glass of wine and some cheese and strawberries and kind of enjoy being away for a night, but still be in their city so they don't have to drive as far. So, I think that's why the residents love it, because it's all the things that they want to do close by them. And it's become a great tourism destination, I think, for the residents. And then certainly for the visitors. I go back and I think that, if the residents don't love what you have, then visitors are not going to love it.
That's right.
Visitors want to come where things are happening, where things are going on, where the residents want to be there, visitors want to be there. So that's why we're able to attract the visitors to Alpharetta. It's because the residents love it, and the residents are helping to make it the community that it needs to be.
And they're inviting friends over to come and enjoy it. And that's, part of the allure too is when people are helping you do your job to get folks into town. And of course, we know that with tourism dollars, it's very important. We want to make sure that we're getting the hotels full, and you guys have some amazing new hotels going up as well. So I know Alpharetta is growing in the tourism capacity, almost on a daily basis, it seems.
Well, right now we have like 26 hotels, and that equates to 3,300 rooms a night. And that's why I tell restaurants and shops and the events and things like that many visitors are in this destination on a nightly basis. And so they're buying and shopping and eating and going to these events and concerts that we're able to provide for them here in the city. And you talked about signature events.
Yeah.
We actually help kind of either create or fund them, so that does make a really good community when you've got a lot of events. And we've actually taken off with a lot of events around the city. One of our staples, or one of the main ones, is the Taste of Alpharetta, where we invite about 50,000 visitors from around the area to come in and enjoy it.
I came and got my eat on. I think all of us did.
Yeah. And then when we look at Wire and Wood, that's another signature. It's been our 7th year, being October. We have about 5 stages going on, and we invite artists from around the country to come in and be on those stages and provide music and fun and entertainment for the residents and for the visitors. So we're able to use those type of events to attract people here to come and stay in the hotels as well. Some other events that we've actually created is the Brook Street Park Summer Series. We've actually had a lot of artists back behind City Hall playing free concerts, so we're able to give it to the community for free, and then also for the visitors for free. Iron Kids is a major triathlon that we'll have here in September. It's probably, I think we've had it at least 6 years or more, and it'll bring probably about 1,100 kids ages 6 to about 17 that come in and do a triathlon. So that's a great event that draws visitors.
Families.
And then I think, a lot of locals are actually participating in these events too.
That's awesome.
Another event is a European market, and we've had that probably about 4 or 5 years. So that's a great little artist market that we put out on the street, and a lot of locals and visitors come and enjoy the European market. We have 2 Brew Moon Fests that we put out there on the street so people can dance their little hearts away out there having fun. But we do 2 of those a year out on the streets in Alpharetta. The Atlanta International Night Market, that's a new event. We had it first time last year, and it drew thousands of people. And we're doing it again at North Point Mall. It's great. It's out in their parking lot, but it really showcases all these different cultures and different foods and where to shop and all this other stuff for an event and a festival. Will be back out there. So they think it's going to probably be one of their largest, and they want to make Alpharetta their home. So we think this will continue to be year after year over at North Point Mall.
Well, and you mentioned North Point Mall, so I'm going to stop you there because I know North Point Mall's undergoing quite a bit of change as well. I can remember when I had a little one who I would bring up to American Girl, right? When that store opened and is still there. But, that was sort of the first iteration of North Point Mall and certainly got plenty of tourists here. Now, Alpharetta is continuing its plans to really redevelop the other section of North Point Mall into some new residential space, retail, and maybe a multifamily component. Matthew, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the transformation of North Point Mall and what it might become.
Sure, yeah. So the mall is really for a long time, it was the premier shopping destination in Alpharetta and North Fulton. And built back in the 1990s, it really was it had a regional draw of some of the best shops, some of the best restaurants that you could find in the area. Over time, that mall concept has really kind of lagged behind when things like Avalon started to come on board. And now with downtown Alpharetta really surging too as a destination, people don't really think about malls the way that they used to in terms of both the shopping experience, the dining experience, going out, entertainment, having a good time. So, City, we've realized over time that in order for that mall to continue to be a relevant commercial corridor to Alpharetta as the city continues to progress, we realized we had to be proactive along with the mall developers about rethinking what the mall would look like and how we continue to keep that area relevant and really a desirable place both to work, to shop, to live. So the city, in working with the mall owners, Brookfield Properties, we've put together a plan that is going to allow for some multifamily. The old Sears building that's been there really since the mall's beginning is actually going to be torn down, and they're going to put some multifamily units there. In addition to a lot of the parking that's around will over time be turned into green space. And so it's really going to create a very unique amenity in Alpharetta and the region, in that this mall that sat there for so long, instead of taking an older mall concept and turning it into a newer concept, kind of replacing the old with a new of the same thing, we're going to replace the old with something completely different. And we know that through development such as Avalon and downtown Alpharetta, which have really been successful as mixed-use corridors, we believe that North Point Mall has the capability of doing the same. And so that we hope will create even more synergy with a lot of these mixed-use areas that you see really popping up around Alpharetta. I think we've done well in terms of leading the charge of how office, residential, and commercial all work together and how they all can cohabitate into a very cool, desirable place. And, you know, for so long, Alpharetta just kind of had the reputation of being a great place to work, but oftentimes would lag behind other areas in terms of place to live or places to have that staycation or a place to bring in some of those tourism dollars. But over time, again, through a lot of what we've seen before with some of the mixed-use developments, we think that North Point will soon have its day as that premier place. So we're really excited about it. I think it's also going to be great to see some redevelopment happen here in an area that's long overdue for it.
I think so too. And, they say these things cycle, right?
Absolutely.
And things that are old become new again. The multifamily component I find, really, really intriguing, having, children who are just out of the house and kind of making their way. And it's funny that as an empty nester, we're both looking for the same things in housing, right? You don't want a big yard. You want to live in an area with what you described as, cool and have that new vibe, right? And so it's interesting that really you end up with that multifamily and multi-generational, which is good for everybody. So the concept is excellent. It's interesting. You again mentioned that Alpharetta does have that sort of key tourism economic development vibe that is going on, and Avalon has been part of that. I know before I was here in this community, everybody heard about Avalon and how it was the newest, greatest thing, and certainly it's proven to be a model really all over and has really done well from that perspective. What role do you think that vibe and Avalon or downtown Alpharetta, and certainly coming up with the new LCI over at North Point, what role do you think it's played in sort of the popularity of the city, having Avalon and some of those new cool things?
Well, the way that, or from the tourism perspective, the way that we kind of look at it, what has bubbled to the top is Avalon kind of started after, North Point Mall being an attractor to bring people in to shop and dine and enjoy just that atmosphere they're trying to create with the entertainment, with some events and just fun things. And then they interjected the hotel and a conference space, which now has brought in a lot more people for meetings and just staycations and being able to stay there and spend the night and walk out and get to shop and dine and then go back to the hotel. But what has bubbled is that what we find in our office is that now we have 3 concentrated areas that we've identified, and it's Avalon, it's the North Point Mall area, and also the downtown area that have an abundance of shopping and dining and events and fun things going on. And what most people don't realize, they're 1 mile apart. You can go 1 mile and go straight down to Avalon, and then 1 mile and you're in the North Point area. And so in all 3 of those concentrated areas in short distant walks, which it makes it walkability, pedestrian friendly, and perfect for what a visitor wants to look for, but also what the residents are wanting to look for. Like Matthew had said, the mixed use, these people living there want to walk to all these things. They don't want to do the same things in their same area over and over. Now they can get on a bike, they can walk down the trail, they can go to any of these other places and enjoy different restaurants and different events and different entertainment and different fun. So these 3 concentrated areas have been a big change for the tourism side in Alpharetta. We actually have a lot of things to talk about, to promote, to advertise about what a great and awesome city we are. So they've been great catalysts for the tourism side, visitors, and, Matthew can talk about from the residents and the business and the corporate, but it's awesome for tourism.
And that also ties into the Alpha Loop, which we've kind of really kickstarted, really Alpharetta's version of the Beltline, 2-ring, a 3-mile inner ring, a 5-mile outer ring, to connect a lot of, again, these mixed use areas where you have such a combined synergy of people living, people working, and people shining, dining, having a great time. And I think that's also in a lot of ways shifted to how companies look at locations, where, for the longest, traditionally, companies would plant an office somewhere and expect the workers to come. Well, it's completely different now. Now companies want to be where the workers are. They want to go where the talent is. They want to ensure that wherever they choose to invest money, they can find capable people of staffing those operations. And a lot of times it's those workers, that talent that chooses to be in such a vibrant place that, again, it creates a corporate magnet, if you will. And so Alpharetta has really been a big beneficiary of how we've looked at development, how we've taken on new development and redevelopment over time in a way that does become attractive to people across the board, across skills, across ages. But that also then creates a real incentive for companies to want to come up this way, because they know for sure that they can find the skill sets to match whatever it is they need to grow.
Well, and that's a perfect segue into sort of the idea that this area has really been labeled the Golden Corridor, right? We have this rich business environment with a lot of the technology companies that have located here. And of course, the two major industries, Matthew, as you well know, in healthcare and technology, fintech in particular. But we've got, the top high schools and just post-secondary colleges and universities. And all of that has really had this amazing effect on our community. And so we're really blessed to have it. So how do you think, is there a halo effect to some extent in having that golden corridor with this area, highly educated workforce? I mean, do you see that a lot of businesses, I would imagine, would be drawn to just that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Golden Corridor, it reflects what we call Transaction Alley, or that area that really kind of spawns from Atlanta northward up through this way, with the number of financial related technology companies and payment processing companies that are here that in some way, some manner process 75% of all of those transactions internationally. And we're very fortunate in Alpharetta, not only as the technology city of the South with over 700 technology companies, but to also be home to a huge number within that fintech vertical. So we've got companies like Fiserv here and ADP, and I don't know if any of you heard about BitPay lately, but they're a pioneer in Bitcoin payment processing. In fact, it was just announced yesterday that the Dallas Mavericks NBA basketball team would be using them for their Bitcoin payment processing. And earlier this year, AT&T also announced them as their partner for all cryptocurrency payment processing. And they're headquartered here in Alpharetta. It's all those exciting things. So I do agree that does create a ripple effect of folks that are tied to that financial sector, whether it's an accounting background or whether it's the ability to code and be able to allow systems to talk to one another, that we've got such a magnitude of here. I think we're very blessed in that regard, and I think that companies know over time that kind of with Silicon Valley, you knew that with Silicon Valley there's all sorts of tech and a lot of startups there. You really see Metro Atlanta and Alpharetta specifically emerging as that fintech capital, that fintech destination. And we've got all kinds of programs in place to really help foster that environment. Tech Alpharetta is one. They are the city-sponsored innovation center and incubator. They birth startups that have gone on to do a number of great things, but several of those companies that have graduated from the innovation center choose to continue to operate and grow their operations here in Alpharetta. That's just one way that we like to use our resources to further augment and strengthen that ecosystem of tech entrepreneurs, folks in R&D, folks that are inventing the things that, a lot of us end up using or that make business easier. Gwinnett Tech, I think, has been another sort of birth of that, with the city responding to the needs of the business community of needing a technical college or a vocational system of something here in this area, given the number of companies and given the fact that we know we still have to continue to upskill that talent, where the talent may not necessarily want to drive to a Georgia Tech or to a Georgia State. We've got wonderful colleges and universities up here, too, that have chosen to plant their flag, and we know that companies really do take full advantage of.
That's great. And we're excited to work with both of you. We know that our businesses, whether they be large companies like what you were just describing, or whether they're some of our chef-driven restaurants who are looking for staff to be able to take care of the restaurant and be servers or chefs, we know that workforce is a big piece of the pie, and, trying to make sure that our focus is on that workforce pipeline to keep those folks able to come up in this area, especially with the number of businesses that are moving here. It's truly in a growth pattern, and we're blessed to be in that position, obviously. You all have such a wealth of knowledge, and we could go on, I know, for hours, but alas, we have 30 minutes. So I do want to make sure that I ask a last question. And so I want to make sure that we tell our listeners how they can find you. And also just, Janet, I'm going to start with you. Is there anything that you have not shared with us? There's so much about the Alpharetta CVB, and you've had such a great history there, but is there anything that you would want our listeners to know that maybe I haven't asked you or you haven't shared yet, or any great secrets about Alpharetta?
Well, I would just like to say from the Alpharetta CVB perspective, we support all these major businesses. Matthew's a great partner. Y'all with Georgia, the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, we're really good partners with y'all. We try to make sure we support and foster that business growth, because when we look at our hotels and have to keep those full, it's corporate business that's going in there. So there's a direct line to what y'all are doing and what we need to be doing. So we support businesses and try to help in that vein, yet still staying with the tourism, with the restaurants and the shops and, the events and things like that need our support. So we love helping the community develop and become this great city. And it takes all of us, I think, together. We're kind of connected in a lot of different ways. And just like to make sure people understand we're part of that connection, and we love it.
And it's nice that we all actually do love working together. That helps a lot too.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how can we get a hold of the Alpharetta CVB? How would we find you online?
You can directly email me at janet@awesomealpharetta.com. Our website is awesomealpharetta.com. And anytime you're in our city and you're taking pictures or you're posting or you're doing anything social, do hashtag awesomealpharetta.com, and we'll try to retweet or send out something, post on your behalf.
That's awesome. See what I did there? All right. So Matthew, what about you? Anything that you want to share with us, or which maybe I haven't asked? And also, how do we get a hold of you and economic development through the city of Alpharetta?
Yeah. Well, first, I'd like to echo what Janet said, too. I think a big part of Alpharetta's success is the partnerships that we continue to foster with one another. So whether it's with you all at GNFCC or with the CVB or whoever else, we are I think that's part of the real ingredient that makes Alpharetta such a vibrant place, whether it's people coming here to live or people visiting or people just working. All of that is important to how we've gotten to where we are. And I think how we continue to move forward is all in partnership together. In terms of finding us, we are at growalpharetta.com. That's our main web portal. We've got a number of different offshoots depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for property, or if you're in site selection, or if you just want raw data on Alpharetta, we have a portal called selectalpharetta.com. It just houses a lot of information. It's backed by U.S. Census data. You can find it in real time. You can point to a geographic location, and that data will pull up all kinds of information about the demographics of Alpharetta for you. I mean, then we've also got alpharetta360.com, which is really unique. We've gone around and started interviewing a lot of CEOs in Alpharetta and allowed them to tell their story about their company and why they chose to locate to Alpharetta. So it's a very interesting piece to that narrative we like to tell about why we're such a great place to invest. But again, the main portal is growalpharetta.com. And it's with that handle that you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
You got a lot going on.
We got a lot going on.
I'm just saying.
We stay busy.
Well, we're proud to work with Alpharetta, both the CVB and the city of Alpharetta. We're proud that this is one of our 6 cities, and definitely had a great time highlighting it with both of you today. Thank you for being my guest on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for joining us on the GNFCC 400 Insider, presented by the Greater North Fulton Chamber. To listen to this show again or to hear any of our previous episodes, visit businessradiox.com, select the North Fulton studio, and then click on the GNFCC 400 Insider. To find out more about the Greater North Fulton Chamber events and programs, visit gnfcc.com. Until next time, I'm Kali Boatright, and this has been the GNFCC 400 Insider on Business Radio X.